Welcome to the Sparky Coach podcast. This platform was built by Sparkies for Sparkies. We simply exist to make business owners more profitable, or businesses more profitable and more predictable. So we want to work with people that work hard because we love working hard too, that work smart because you got to be on top of the business, people that are kind because no one likes a dickhead. Am I right? People who want results because that's what we're here for, right? And people who want to be part of a like-minded community. So if you're interested in hearing more about the platform, please reach out and enjoy the podcast. I'm gonna change my life, change my plans, change my vans, even start to dance now. That's my Millencolin Bullion impersonation. If you don't know who Millencolin are, you've probably been living under a rock, or you're 25 and you're not acclimatized to the good old punk rock times. I, in fact, am 41, and that was the golden era for me. Millencolin, No Fun at All, Lagwagon, all the classics, all the time. It's funny, if I've got to do some like deep work, what I would call deep work, like on business time, I'll just crank some 90s punk, Offspring Smash. It would be amiss of me not to say that. Rage Against the Machine, just that kind of stuff. And so I'll be working like the deepest Google Sheets formulas, just blaring 90s punk rock, and Elodie will go, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I need it to focus." I think coming from trade world, rocking the tradio, that noise in the background, you know, when you're on site, you're just so used to noise and you just got the radio blasting all day. Sideways comment, is there anything worse than rocking up to site and someone's got music you don't like on? Now, just think of the music you don't like. What is it? Is it dance? Is it Vanessa Amorosi? Probably not, because she is the greatest artist of our generation. Absolutely everybody. We digress. All right, here we go. Bullion. We're talking about the great part of that Millencolin song at the end of it. And he's like, I'm going to change my life, change my plans, change my vans, even start to dance, change my thoughts, change my socks, change my moods, even change my pro fighter cue for you. Whatever a pro fighter cue is, but we're going to change. There's an element of change. We're going to change. And Einstein famously once said, at least it's attributed to Einstein, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing twice and expecting a different result. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing twice and expecting a different result. So if you look back on your life, in the history of your life, and maybe particular in business, but you can reference this personally, and something is not working, and you're trying again. It might be a person, it might be a process, it might be a client, it might be a personal trait in you. And you know, if you're looking right now and being like, hey, I've got a consistent habit of losing stuff, I can't retain stuff. I've got a consistent habit of flying off the handle with clients. I've got a consistent habit of getting behind on invoicing and then catching up, and then I'm behind again and doing all this kind of stuff. And so if you've got a history of sort of things that haven't been working, just stop, collaborate and listen to yourself and be like, how am I going to change this year? How is 2026 going to be the best year I've ever had? And I really hope that for your life. I really hope this year is the best year you ever had. And if you want to have the best year and you haven't been having that good years, well, what's going to change this year to make this year the best one? If you want to have the best 2026 and last year was pretty good, how can you get better? So referencing that in the business sense, is it something that you're doing that someone else might need to start doing? Is it something that you're doing not so well that you need to get better at? Is it upskilling yourself or investing into yourself, or just stuff? We're going to go through all this today. Pretty cool. So I think we'd all agree that if nothing changes, nothing changes. And if something changes, then something changes. If nothing changes, nothing changes. If something changes, then something changes. So my overall concept here is what are you going to do to have the best 2026 yet? What are you going to do to have the best 2026 yet? And let's start by flipping the script, hitting the reverse card, and being like, well, how do I have a bad year? What are some of the things that are going to set me up for the worst 2026? Let's go through some I wrote down. Neglect your personal health and mental health. It's going to be pretty bad. Work huge, relentless hours just to maintain the business. So just working huge hours, maybe you're doing like killer nights and Saturdays and Sundays, and I've got no time for anything because I got to do stuff on the business. And maybe everything you're doing is not growing or pushing the business forward. It's just maintaining a level of normalcy throughout the business. I've got a big sort of, I hope it's a rule. If it's not, maybe when you're starting in the first 1 to 3 years, you can sort of not play by this because you've got to sort of do what you got to do. But, the goal is that if you're doing after hours work on the computer, you are doing it on the business. If you're doing weekend work, you are working on the business. You're building out your price book. You are updating Simpro, Fergus, ServiceMate. You are pushing all your price per point into something like Ground Plan or using that Estimate software. People love that software, by the way. So maybe you're doing something along those lines, like you're working on the business, you're building processes, you're building end of job checklists, you are looking forward, future focused, taking some pressure off yourself. You're making the business better. If you want to have an awful 2026, hire and keep average staff members. It's a pretty good one, isn't it? Pretty confronting. Hire and keep average staff members. Run around like a chicken with his or her head cut off. Have you ever done that before? Some of my memories of running a trade business, an electrical business back in God's country, aka Sutherland Shire, is just like being so flat out, drinking heaps of lattes and driving around. And sometimes, when you're driving, you're like, and everything's just, you're almost watching yourself exist because you're so busy that the pressure's on, the phone's ringing off the hook. Like some of my memories are that. And it's like, there's more to business than that. So if you want to have a crazy year, you might have a pretty bad year. Set no goals and have no plan. That's huge. You would have heard enough, and I would encourage you to go back and listen to the first 2 pods I've dropped this year on. I think it's really important to have plans and have goals. And I really, really believe you can achieve a lot over 10, 15, 20 years, a lot more than you think, and maybe a lot less in 1 year than you think, especially if that early stage of businesses. It's just a bit of a hustle. But you want to have goals and have a plan. If you set no goals and have no plan, pretty average year. You're going to drift in the wind. You're going to be just a candle in the wind. Elton John style, a tribute to the great Marilyn Monroe. What are you going to do to have an awful 2026? Doom scroll every night. You're going to doom scroll. You're going to jump on Instagram, TikTok, social media of some description, and you're just going to Netflix, and you're just going to binge. I'm just going to binge. And then you're going to whinge about being so tired and you're not filling your cup. You're filling your cup with noise, whatever that noise is. And it's draining you. It's not filling your cup. And it's like, I got no time to exercise, but I can doom scroll through social media for 90 minutes a day. I got no time to exercise, but I know exactly what Kim Kardashian ate for breakfast this morning. Right? Crazy times. What are you going to do to have an awful 2026? You're going to exist, but not be present. You're going to exist. You're going to be there. Your physical being's going to be there, but your mind is going to be on that core hole you've got to drill on Tuesday morning, or those undergrounds you've got to do, or that phone call you've got to make, or that quote you've got to do, or that overtime you incorrectly paid, or that apprentice you incorrectly paid, or that super bill coming up, or that BAS bill coming up, or the fact that the whole business's back-end admin rests solely on your shoulders and it's too overbearing. This is crazy, this one. And I want to reference the coaching industry, which you would all know I dislike. I dislike because it's mostly noise. It's mostly not non-negotiable to the actual running of a business. It's like, have the best website, have your social media, make 1,000 phone calls. Here's what not to do. It's so unbelievably negative. It's directly marketed at your pain points. You just watch it. It's it's not uplifting. It's directly to jab a knife into your pain point and twist it around to cause enough pain that you would reach out. And I think it's really tough. Like, we always try and put out positive things, and I think it's important to be positive, because like when it's negative, like it's hard to change when you're in that downward spiral. When you're in an upward spiral, you can improve and change and adapt and get better. And I just think so much is noise. You can watch heaps of content. Is it relevant? You can watch heaps of content. Is it non-negotiable? You can watch heaps of content. What are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? So sometimes you can be consuming good stuff, but it's not actually essential to the running of the business. It's not actually essential to your 9 to 5. It's not actually the most important thing in your 9 to 5. And I know what you're thinking. I don't work 9 to 5. I work 7 to 3 because I'm the best trader that's ever lived. You know what I'm saying? So here's 8. I know 7 is the number of completion, and I balked at 6, the devil's number. And I'm like, I was running through how many points am I going to have here? And I had 7, and then I got a phone call yesterday afternoon from someone, which we'll run through later, and I increased my 7 points to 8. So here's 8 simple keys to having an excellent year. 8 simple keys to having an excellent year. We're in a bit of an Einstein quoting situation here, and I love this. He says, everything should be as simple as possible, but not simpler. Everything should be as simple as possible, but not simpler. So simple business is not when there's more to add, it's when there's nothing left to take away. Are you nailing the non-negotiable? So here we go, bang. 8 simple keys to having an excellent year. Number 1, set the standard. Set the standard. Standards are what you are willing to accept and what you are not willing to accept. I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you don't know what you stand for, you will fall for anything. If you don't know what's important, you'll fall for stuff that is moderately important. It's okay. It's sort of mid-range, or mid, as the cool kids say. Here's what I want you to set the standard in. What are you going to do this year? This is absolutely key. We want to achieve a market wage. So what could you walk down 3 doors down and get a wage for? 120 grand, 130 grand, plus super, plus a van. And want a business net profit of between 20 and 35%. You're going to hear so much of me repeating that, not this pod, not next pod, forever. Because as long as you're running a trade business and selling labor and materials for money, selling your body and your time in the most PG way possible, although sometimes you get in some X-rated positions in the roof space, right? If you know, if you're listening to this pod, sweating it up in a roof space, I'm going to say send me a pic, but yeah, I don't know. It might be a little bit X-rated for my liking. Elodie might open my phone and be like, who's sending in these nude photos in a roof space? And I'm like, oh, that's Joey, who was just doing some aircon and wanted to show me. Why is he nude? I don't know. I don't know why he sent that to me. I don't know why he sent that to me. So if your name's Joey out there, keep your clothes on in the roof space, right? But market wage, net profit, 20 to 35%. It's so unbelievably key. It's so unbelievably key. So if you're on a 3 million revenue, your business net profit should be 600 grand. That's what we're going for. Generally speaking, you can achieve a high net profit when you're still on the tools. And go with me here. This is so important to understand. You can also achieve a higher net profit when you're volunteering to the business a lot. So if we've got you set in the calculator at 32 hours and you're doing 40 to 45 and you're also doing the 30 to 40 hours of admin at nighttime, guess what? You're overachieving your resource number. So you're improving your profitability, essentially. And you're volunteering your admin to the business, so you are improving your profitability, because you should be paying someone for that, but you're doing it yourself, and you're probably just taking your market wage out. So there's a role you're not paying for in the admin land. You're overachieving on the tools. And also, let's face it, you're a godsend weapon on the tools, the demigod. You're a demigod, a weapon on the tool. So you're sort of like double dipping in, you're almost insider trading at that point because you're so good on the tools. No one holds pliers like you. Crescent pliers. No, that's a joke. Whatever you're into. So you can hit good numbers, but you might be also skewing the data. It's so interesting. You might be hitting some awesome. I'm getting that. Cool. You're working 80 hours a week. I earned really good money last year. Cool. You worked 2 full-time jobs. So you should make good money. You'd make that kind of money at Donut King. I've said it before and I'll say it again. When they baptize the dough in the oil in Donut King, is there anything like it? You're watching You're literally watching the dough turn into a donut and gets basked in some kind of sugar cinnamon sent straight from the trade gods, straight to that bowl, straight into your mouth. Psycho. Set the standard. That's unbelievable. Like, you just have to nail that. This year, make it a choice. I will not accept anything under a market wage and a net profit of 20%. The only time I would accept otherwise, to be fair, is in a growth stage of business where you're sort of double handling things. Like, it's like I'm double handling an operations role. I'm double handling an admin for 3 months. And this is why your numbers and your figures are so important to get a grip on. So important. So, far, this is interesting. I didn't even really have this in, okay, I spoke to someone yesterday who shall remain nameless, somewhere on the east coast of Australia, and he was sort of saying, I'm giving up this builder. I'm giving them up. They suck. This builder sucks. I've seen these finger paintings. They suck, right? This sucks. This job sucks. This person sucks. Ah, rah, like a dinosaur. Like a dinosaur, like a T-Rex, like a mini T-Rex, but like not frightening. And anyway, so I'm giving this build up, they suck. And this is, you've heard me talk about the 5 whys. Ask yourself why 5 times. Why does this builder suck? The first comment's always, just because they suck, better than it. Cool. Why do they suck? Or they screwed me on this price. And it's like, sweet, like, well, what was the price? Or they gave me this price and I said I could do it for that. Cool. So, like, why did you say you could do it for that? Because I wasn't aware how long it would take at that point. So I just said yes. Cool. Like, why were you unaware? Why would you commit to something that you knew you would lose money on? Well, I didn't actually know I would lose money. I just hadn't been tracking my jobs. I wasn't aware of my break-even rate. Why? I haven't been measuring. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Cool. So we've been from angry at the builder, and maybe rightfully so, to be fair, but now I've got to the actual issue, which is I didn't know my numbers and I committed to a price that I was unaware if I was making money or not. I was unsure. I was insecure. I was uneducated. Have you ever done that before? Chances are you have. Wherever you're driving or listening, just give us a wave like the Pope. Like the fancy wave like the Pope. Have you done that before? We all have. Everyone has. There's no shame in that. There's absolutely no shame in that. But if you keep doing it, if you keep acting like that, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing twice and expecting a different result. So if you do the next job for this builder, that's psycho. Like you are going to make no money again. And then you're going to take it out on the client when the real issue is your understanding of numbers and pricing is incorrect. You're wrong. You've basically bought a t-shirt for $30. Someone's offered you $15 for it, and you've sold 100 of them. It's ridiculous. Like that. I want you to see the level of insanity there. If you buy t-shirts at $100, you would never sell them for 70. You would never sell them for 70. Like you'd have to probably double it to get your correct gross and net margins by the time, you sort of sold the shirt, basically. Import, export. I'm no e-com expert, but I'm sure there are business expenses across all businesses. So it's super interesting. So I was like, who are you really angry at? And he's like, rah, steal the T-Rex. Ah, no. T-Rex, mini T-Rex. T-Rex. How many times have you been a T-Rex? Well, chances are we all have. No. And it's like, well, why? What are you going to do? So set the standard. Maybe the conversation's not, we throw the baby out with the bathwater and that builder, get stuffed. You can get stuffed. You can go to hell. And maybe we can have a conversation with that builder. Hey, I didn't know my pricing. I'll honor this because most of us would do that. We'd honor it. And I'm upset about it, but it's my fault. So for the next one, I need to charge this. So set the standard. And if we know that we're shooting for a market wage and net profit of 20%, what does that put pressure on? It puts pressure on our pricing. It puts pressure on our closing the month. It puts pressure on our quarter. It puts pressure on our year. It puts pressure on our jobs. What is a good year? You want to have a good financial year? I want to make 500 grand. I want to make $1 million. I want to make $1.5 million. I want to make $2 million, Dr. Evil style, right? What do you want to achieve this year? What you need to do is reverse engineer that revenue back into a 20% net with a market wage. And that's basically where you're going to sit. So if you're at $1 million revenue, your goal should be around that 400 grand net profit with a market wage. And if you're not hitting that, ask yourself the question, why? So if you're measuring your year and not hitting it, what is a year? A year is 12 months. What is 12 months? 12 months is 4 quarters. So go back to your quarterly data. Look at your quarterly data. What's a quarter? 3 months. Go back to your monthly data. How was the months? What's a month? It's 4.3 weeks. 4 weeks. It's 4 weeks, basically. Well, what is the 4 weeks? It's a bunch of jobs. It's 100 jobs a week. It's 20 jobs a week. So what you want a good year, a good financial year, is on the other side of a good job. Ask yourself those 5 whys. It's on the other side of what you're quoting today. The job you're about to open up and quote, this is important for your financial profitability and financial viability and the future of your company. This is important. This is important. The job you do today is important. The variations you capture today is important. The job notes you collect today are important. Logging your hours is important. Measuring your jobs is important. Measuring your days is important. It's important. Why? Because we've got a standard to hit. Our standard is the market wage net profit of 20 to 35%. So if that becomes our true north, if that becomes our North Star, if that becomes our guiding light, if that becomes our sort of like, that is what I'm going for. I'm getting that tattooed on my lower back. If you do get that tattooed on your lower back, let me know. Love to hear about it. That becomes our true north. So that puts pressure on your day-to-day because too many of us operate with no standards and then we don't stand for anything, so we fall for anything. We have nothing we stand for, so we fall for anything. So the builder or client or commercial client, and builders get a hard rap, and it's solely because they're all dickheads. No, it's not. Some of my best friends are builders, and they're dickheads. No, they're cool. I swear to God, they're cool. Builders get a hard rap because it's just on a bigger scale. It's like if you misquoted a $500 job, you probably don't even know about it. A $5,000 job, you might not even know about that. A $50,000 job, you're going to feel that. A $500,000 job, you're going to really feel that, like a dagger to your soul. So it's just the builders just generally have bigger work, and they generally, there's more that can go wrong. With any job that's $100,000 or more or $50,000 or more, there's a lot more that could go wrong than a $1,000 job. And there's so interesting to see the profitability of a service and maintenance stuff should be 30 to 50%, 25 to 50% net profit because you're in and out and there's a bunch of admin related. There's lots of heavy liabilities that come with that, lots of phone calls, lots of admin, lots of job notes, lots of scheduling, lots of rescheduling, and just lots of opportunity for error on a smaller scale, but still lots of opportunity for error. And then, but 20% of 1,000 is not comparable to 20% of 100,000. So just because your percentage is correct doesn't mean that it skews the data. 1% of 1,000 is very different to 1% of 100,000. So it's so interesting when we look at net profit per hour. You look at net profit, and people doing solar or aircon, you're moving 10 grand of materials over 1 day or 2 days, or 20 grand of materials over 3 days. So reverse engineer that 20% net profit of the $30,000 job. It's going to be a lot more than that same team going around changing pendants for Betty. Or reference a builder who they make one phone call, sweet, got it, yeah, bang, done. You just landed a $100,000 job with one phone call and some reputation that you're banking anyway. And now you've put this goodwill forward to do a job for them that's awesome, that goes for 12 to 18 months. Now your schedule's sorted. Now your hiring confidence comes up, and now you've got that job on your resume. So many ways to skin the cat, but what we're looking for holistically, if our North Star, if our guiding light is that 20 to 35%, that's the key to having an excellent year. So I almost will park that here for this pod, and we'll continue with the other 7 at another time in the future, the next pods. It's so important. I really, really want to encourage you I said this to someone yesterday. They called me, we chatted, full legend human, like could talk to this guy for hours, really like him. Wouldn't quite say love, maybe like WUV, W-U-V, something along those lines. Love this guy. And I was sort of explaining to him, he's about a 3 mil revenue, and I was sort of explaining, I was like, he called up and he's pretty bummed. We're not making, I don't know if we're making money or not. We're just existing. Had a nuts year last year. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to go through what I went through again. I don't want to work as hard as I worked last year. I don't want to work as hard for no money or little money as I did last year. I don't want to exist anymore in business without knowing where my money's going. I don't want to exist in business with quoting these 500 grand jobs and unsure if it's correct or incorrect. I don't want to exist with an average team. I don't want to get those subbies if they're going to make mistakes. I don't want this year to be anything like last year. Can you help me? And I was like, of course we can help you. Just give me some money. Seriously, but I was like, of course we can help you. So I said, benchmark, looking at this, 3 mil, you should be achieving a 20% net profit and a market wage. And he sort of stopped and he went, if I can get half of that, I'd be stoked. And I said to him, I was going to say I looked him dead in the eye, but I didn't. This is a phone call. But if it was in person, I would have looked him dead in the eye and I would have said, you can take the market wage and net profit 20%. You could take that anywhere in the world to the most educated, to the most uneducated person. You could take it to anyone in the whole world, anywhere in the world, and no one is going to think that's an unreasonable request. No one on earth is going to think that's unfair. No one on earth is going to think that you're ripping them off. A 20% net profit across a trade business, specifically electrical, solar, aircon. It's not greedy. It's not even shooting for the moon, to be honest. It's what we need to start calling industry standard. And when we collectively, as the best and sexiest trades there are, when we collectively stand together and we don't settle for that, guess what's going to happen? We're all going to, first and foremost, make some more money. Now, what's the byproduct of making more money? Well, firstly, you get more money. It's good. Your partner's going to be stoked. Your kids will be stoked. You now get to pay your staff members better. You get to pay things more on time. You get to not only, like, a huge part of our program is make money, build wealth, be kind, right? So you now can not only think about yourself, and a lot of you guys are just thinking about yourself. And I've got to get the business sorted. But what about your staff? What about we start focusing on building wealth for them? How are you building wealth or helping your staff members build wealth? Are we sitting them down with someone for investment properties, shares, chipping into their super correctly? How are we helping our staff members build wealth? Because it's getting harder and harder, or like more expensive to purchase places. So we need a plan. So it's interesting when you're making good money, the pressure that comes off your shoulders, and now you can start to think about other people. Now you can start to be more present with other people. Now you can start to care. Now you can start to volunteer some more labor and materials or time or money into the community. Now you can be part of the things you care about the most. Now you can be more present for your family. Now the pressure's off a little bit. So it's crazy. I just think if we set the standard, if we're like, I will not accept less than that. I won't accept it. I'm not dealing with that. I've had enough. I'm going for this. And so I'm talking to two people here. The first person's listening and going like, you're getting revved up. You're getting G'd up in the car. You're being your own T-Rex. Rah, 20%. No. This crazy guy said I can do it. You're getting revved up. You're becoming the own T-Rex version of yourself. The other person, you're at 20%. Or you're at 25%. You're at 30%. Let's increase it 1%. Let's go from 20 to 21, from 25 to 26, from 30 to 31. Let's look at other ways to make money. Let's look at building wealth. It's so cool. Like, as long as you're selling labor and materials, you have to care about this stuff. If you actually cared about the industry, you would start to price better. If you actually cared about the industry, you would get your numbers right and you wouldn't do any more jobs at a loss. The very fact that a builder can approach 10 people and receive 10 completely different prices. I know everyone's overhead's a bit different, but some people are working for a loss. Some people are working and risking their house. Some people are working and risking their financial future. Some people are working themselves into the ground. Some people are heading into liquidation. Some people don't know they've got a giant ATO tax debt. Let's cut this out. Let's set the standard. We know what we owe in tax. We're pricing correctly. We're looking after us. All this kind of stuff. Set the standard this year. Set the standard this year. And I just feel like it's our time. As electricians, no robot is going to crawl on a roof nude with you and tape some duct on, right? And chuck the ventilation into the eave. No robot's doing that. You're in the golden time of electrical world for the next 10 to 15 years. So own it. Look after yourself. Set the standard. Don't accept anything less. If you're not getting the result you want, you need to change. Why? Because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing twice and expecting a different result. Don't be crazy out there. Don't be crazy. Don't be cray-cray. Set the standard, set the tone, and absolutely get after it. If nothing changes, nothing changes. But if something changes, then something changes. So let's be the positive change in the industry you want, the positive change in your family that you want, the positive change in your business that you want. Get after it. Peace. That's a wrap on another podcast. Whatever you're doing, don't be too busy to stop and check if you're making money. And above all else, you know the rules. Be kind. See you soon.